They aired the overtake. They muted the rebellion. On lap 50 of the Austrian GP, Ferrari's calm facade cracked. Not with smoke or sparks, but with a voice. Hamilton's voice. As Riccardo Adami called him in, Lewis didn't flinch. "I don't want to stop." For words that exposed a silent war behind the pit wall. Officially, Ferrari called it a standard, optimal strategy. Unofficially, it was a power struggle. Master's procedure, they claimed. It was logical. McLaren's unreachable. Mercedes, not a threat. But the truth isn't in position charts. It's in tone. In resistance. In who says no. This wasn't Hamilton questioning tires. It was Hamilton questioning control. Because behind that radio moment lies something deeper, mistrust. A growing disconnect between a legend who leads from instinct and a team still trapped in spreadsheets and safety. And what's worse, Ferrari doubled down. Their standing boss, Damrosio, dismissed it. Nothing out of the norm. But what happens when the norm suffocates brilliance? What Ferrari didn't say publicly could have rewritten the entire narrative. Hamilton's radio clash wasn't just about tires. It was about brakes. Quietly, through post-race interviews, the seven-time champion dropped a detail almost no one caught. "I struggled a lot with brake balance during the race. Definitely cost me time." And yet, no mention from Ferrari. No explanation. No adjustment narrative. Just silence. Why? Because brake issues on a two-stop strategy at the Red Bull Ring aren't just technical noise. They're red flags. Spielberg demands precision. If Hamilton was managing brake temperatures while pushing tire limits and doubting strategy, what we saw wasn't a driver being managed. It was a driver being ignored. This isn't set-up confusion. It's strategic sabotage by passivity. No urgent calls from the pit wall. No live countermeasures. Only insistence to box when the driver felt otherwise. And when you pair that with Ferrari's reluctance to reveal real causes, the picture changes. The optimal strategy becomes a distraction. The brake balance becomes the smoking gun. Jerome Damrosio wasn't supposed to be on the pit wall. Fred Vasseur left the circuit for personal reasons. But in Ferrari, absences speak louder than press releases. Damrosio, the so-called stand-in, didn't just fill a seat. He delivered the message. It was the optimal strategy. No reason to do anything different. Calm. Corporate. Controlled. But here's the twist. Jerome isn't just a former driver. He's Hamilton's former Mercedes ally. The man who once shadowed Toto Wolff. The bridge between Brackley precision and Maranello tradition. And now he's publicly overriding Lewis Hamilton's instincts on global broadcast. Coincidence or quiet consolidation? Since October, Damrosio's been moving inside Ferrari like a virus with a purpose. Attending meetings, influencing execution, embedding himself in performance, talks with both Hamilton and Leclerc. His presence in Austria wasn't accidental, it was a test. A power play. And when he calmly dismissed Hamilton's disagreement as normal, it wasn't reassurance. It was redirection. Look closely at the laps before Hamilton's pit call. The sector times, the throttle traces. They don't show degradation. They show consistency. Control. A driver extending performance, not falling off. So why the urgency to pit? Because data isn't neutral. It's narrative. Ferrari's call came not from panic, but from pattern. A pattern that's been building since Bahrain. Pit stops called when Hamilton gains on Leclerc. Strategy windows that seem to protect track order, not race victory. In Austria, Leclerc pitted first. Hamilton was closing. The delta shrinking. But instead of letting Lewis overcut or extend, they pulled him in. Just like that. On paper, it's optimal. In reality, it's obedience enforcement. And the coded resistance? It's no longer coded. Hamilton's radio tone isn't frustration, it's warning. A test of how far Ferrari is willing to go to contain him rather than unleash him. He knows. And now so do we. Leclerc said nothing. Not about Hamilton's radio protest. Not about the brake struggles. Not even about the strategy. Just smiles, nods, and vague references to team performance. But silence is never neutral. In Maranello, in Austria, Charles was the obedient executive. First to pit. First to comply. And when Hamilton questioned the plan, Leclerc didn't need to defend it. Damrosio did it for him. Because Leclerc's power inside Ferrari is quiet, but absolute. He's the known quantity, the internal ally. And Hamilton, the disruptor. Sources close to the team whisper of briefings, where Charles is increasingly consulted before key calls. Not just for feedback, influence. Strategy simulations shaped around his driving style, not Hamilton's instincts. This isn't partnership. It's hierarchy. The Austrian GP exposed the emotional fracture. One driver challenging the system, the other reinforcing it by saying nothing at all. In silence, Leclerc holds his ground and lets Hamilton burn alone. Publicly, it's unity. Privately, it's tension. Damrosio praised the internal talks. We have regular meetings. How can we be better? But insiders tell another story, of Hamilton pushing harder than expected, questioning engineering decisions others accepted for years. In these meetings, Hamilton doesn't ask, he demands. Demands clarity on tire warm-up windows. Challenges the logic behind fuel-saving calls mid-race. Questions the very structure of Ferrari's decision tree. And each time he does, there's discomfort. Not because he's wrong, but because he's different. He operates like a Mercedes-trained general dropped into a house of rituals. And Ferrari isn't used to soldiers questioning the priesthood. The Austrian GP wasn't an exception. It was a symptom. The pit wall heard him say, I don't want to stop.